The desert wind carried more than heat that day. It carried whispers. Not the kind the living make, but the faint sighs of those who once drank from the wells and now slept beneath the dunes. Terran knelt in the sand, his hand pressed to the cracked earth. The well was gone, buried under years of wind-blown dust, and with it, the village of Sarin. What remained were stones half swallowed by the dunes, bones bleached pale, and an old promise carved into a stone marker. Water to the dead, so they do not thirst in dreams. Most people thought it was a superstition, but Terran knew better. He filled his clay jug from the skin on his belt and poured a slow stream into the sand. The ground drank greedily. Somewhere in that silent thirst, he thought he heard the faintest sigh of gratitude. The promise. When Terran was a boy, his grandmother would wake before dawn to carry water to the burial mounds. "The dead dream," she would say, "and dreams can burn." The old women of the village did this every week, their shadows long in the sunrise, their voices low. "Why?" he had asked once. "They're gone. What good does it do?" His grandmother's answer was simple. "The living are bound to the dead. We drink because they once dug the wells. We walk because they once carried the path in their hearts. If we stop remembering, the desert takes us too." When the war came and the raiders burned Sarin, Terran was 16. He fled with the others to the mountains, but his grandmother refused to leave. "I have water yet to give," she said. They found her a month later, sitting upright at the mounds, her jug empty beside her. The return. Years passed. The mountains had water, but no peace. Terran became a guide for caravans, leading strangers across the dry sea of sand. Every trip, he felt the pull of the buried village. This time, the caravans stopped near the ruins. Traders set up camp, and Terran wandered into the dunes until he found the old stone marker. The air was heavy, not with heat, but with expectation. He had one jug left. It was barely a mouthful, but he poured it out anyway. The sand darkened, then dried instantly. A shadow passed across the sun. Not a cloud, there hadn't been one in months, but a shape, tall and thin, standing at the edge of the ruins. Terran. The voice was like wind through bone. The messenger. She wore the robes of the old Sarin waterkeepers, though her face was pale and faint as moonlight. Her eyes were deep wells that reflected no light at all. "You kept the promise," she said, "but it is not enough." Terran's throat went dry. "Who are you?" "A voice for those who cannot speak. We are thirsty, Terran. More than you can imagine. Our dreams have turned to dust, and the debt is not paid." He wanted to step back, but the sand felt like it was holding him in place. "The wells are gone. There's no water here anymore." "There is one," she whispered, "beneath the temple stones. But you must bring it yourself. And when you do, you must leave more than water." The journey. It took him 2 days to persuade the caravan master to let him go. He left at dawn with a single camel for skins of water, and the old route burned into memory. The path wound past broken watchtowers, over the glassy remains of sand burned by fire, and into a hollow where the dunes leaned against the sky. The temple was still there, or at least its bones were. Arches half collapsed, pillars leaning like drunk sentinels. He found the central stone, pushed it aside, and uncovered a narrow shaft. The air from below was cool and damp. He lowered himself down, hands scraping against the rough wall until his boots met stone. At the bottom, water shimmered faintly, fed by some hidden spring. The offering. He filled the jugs one by one. But the voice returned, curling through the chamber like smoke. "Terran," it said, "water is not enough. What else do you want from me?" "A memory," A life lived. A piece of yourself. That is the debt. He understood then. Water kept the dead from thirst, but memory kept them from vanishing. And the debt of Sarin had been fading for years. So he sat on the stone floor and began to speak. He told them about the war, about the mountains, about the faces of strangers he had guided through the desert. He told them how he still woke at night thinking of his grandmother's hands, cracked from years of carrying water. The air grew warmer, the shadows closer. He felt something in his chest loosen, as if a part of him were being drawn out with each word. 6. The silence. When he climbed back into the daylight, he was lighter, too light. He didn't feel the heat, didn't feel the weight of the jugs. Even the sound of the wind seemed far away. He carried the water to the mounds and poured it over the sand. This time, the earth drank slowly, as if savoring it. The sigh that followed was deeper, richer, almost content. The pale woman appeared again, her features softer now. "You have paid the debt," she said. "We will not thirst again." Taran wanted to ask what would happen to him, but when he opened his mouth, no sound came. His voice was gone. 7. The guide, without words. He returned to the caravan that evening. The others asked where he had been, but he could only smile faintly and point to the horizon. They thought he was sunsick. From then on, he never spoke. But travelers who followed his routes said the desert felt calmer when he was there, as if the wind itself listened. They said he always stopped at the ruins of Sarin, pouring water from his skins onto the sand before moving on. Children began to call him the silent guide. Traders left offerings at the mounds, sometimes water, sometimes a handful of grain. The desert nights grew cooler, and no storms troubled the ruins for many seasons. 8. The final journey. Years later, when his hair had turned white and his hands were lined like dry riverbeds, Taran felt the pull again, stronger than before. He left the caravan without a word, carrying only a single jug. At the ruins, the pale woman waited. She took his hand, and for the first time since that day in the temple, he felt warmth in his chest. "You gave us water," she said. "You gave us memory. Now we give you rest." The sand beneath his feet softened. He lay down beside the stone marker, and the earth welcomed him like an old friend. When the wind passed over the dunes that night, it carried not a sigh, but the faint sound of water flowing somewhere far below. Epilogue. Travelers still pass the ruins of Sarin. They say if you stop at the mounds and pour water into the sand, the wind will grow still, and you'll feel the air cool against your skin. They say the silent guide walks there sometimes, his jug never empty, his shadow long in the dawn light. And though he never speaks, they say his eyes hold the calm of deep water and the memory of a promise kept. The drought had been killing us for 3 years. Not just the crops, not just the animals, the people. The riverbed that once split the village in two was now nothing but a cracked spine of clay, ribs of driftwood jutting from its sides like bones in an unburied corpse. The elders said the river was not gone, only angry at the living for failing the dead. But it was the words of old Mareth, the gravekeeper, that still whispered in my mind. The dead thirst more than the living. Forget to water them, and they will take their due in silence. I had laughed when I first heard it as a child. Now, in my 23rd year, with the wind carrying the scent of dust and decay, I wasn't laughing. Not when the village, gave up nothing but air. Not when people began waking in the night, coughing as if drowning in invisible water. And not when the first body went missing from the graveyard. I was tasked to watch the cemetery that night, armed with nothing but a lantern, a small bucket of well water, the last my family could spare, and the ache in my bones from hunger. Mareth had told me the rules. Do not speak aloud. Do not look them in the eyes. Do not leave without paying the debt. At midnight, the ground shuddered like something breathing beneath it. The rows of simple stone markers seemed to lean toward me. From the far end of the cemetery, the air shimmered, heat waves where there was no heat. Then I saw them. They came like shadows unpeeling from the earth, thin, silent, wet-faced. Not with rainwater, but with something darker, like the shine of deep river silt. Their clothes clung to them as if they had never stopped drowning. One stepped forward, the water dripping from her fingertips, sizzling where it hit the dry dirt. Her mouth opened, but no sound came, only the faint rush of waves far away. I gripped my bucket tighter. My grandmother had been buried here. I found myself staring at one of the shapes, wondering if that could be her. The urge to call her name burned in my throat, but I remembered Mareth's first rule: do not speak aloud. Instead, I knelt and poured the water onto the ground. It vanished instantly, swallowed so fast I wondered if the soil had ever been dry at all. One by one, the shapes came forward. I poured for each. The bucket grew lighter, and their faces grew fuller. Not warm like the living, but less empty, less stretched thin by thirst. When the last drop fell, the dead paused. Then, without a word, they turned and slipped back into the earth like water finding a crack. I thought it was over, but on my way out, a cold hand closed around my ankle. A figure half buried in the dirt stared up at me, its lips moving without sound. The eyes, black as deep pools, held me. My breath caught. Mareth's second rule, do not look them in the eyes, was already broken. Images slammed into me. A river running full under moonlight, bodies drifting in its depths, the taste of iron on my tongue. A voice, not spoken, but inside my skull, whispered, "The debt is not paid. The river is still dry." I tore free and ran. The next day, the villagers found my footprints in the cemetery, leading back toward the graves after I had left. But I remembered nothing of returning. That night, Mareth came to me. His face looked older than it had the day before, as if something had been drinking the years from him. "You gave water," he said, "but not enough. They'll come again. And when they do, they will not wait for the living to offer it. They'll take it from your blood." I asked him how to stop them. His answer was as dry as the land. The river must be fed. So we went to the source, the cracked gorge where the river once began. The air was so still it felt like a held breath. Mareth carried a large clay jar wrapped in cloth. I did not know what was inside until we reached the edge. It was not water. It was ashes. "The ashes of the unwatered dead," he said. "The river remembers them." He poured the ashes into the gorge. The wind rose, carrying with it a smell of rain. For a moment I thought it would work, but then a voice rose from below, echoing like it came from a tunnel. "Too late. Too many thirsts. Too many debts." The ground under us broke. From the gorge, black water surged upward, not the clean water of life, but thick, reeking, and cold. Figures swam in it, hands reaching, mouths opening in voiceless demand. Mareth shouted, "Run!" But the wave caught him. It didn't knock him down. It pulled him under, without even wetting the ground around him. I ran. 4 days afterward, I did not sleep. The dreams were too full of water and whispers. And in every dream, I saw Mareth among the drowned, his eyes black, his hand outstretched, not accusing, but beckoning. The drought broke 2 weeks later. The river returned, swollen with dark, silt-heavy water. The villagers rejoiced, but none dared drink from it. Those who tried didn't wake the next morning. Their bodies were found wet, though no one heard rain. I still walked to the river each month with my bucket in silence. I poured into the current, never speaking, never looking too long at the shapes that ripple beneath the surface. We have water again, but it is not ours. It belongs to them, the ones who wait below, in the quiet depths, in the debt we cannot stop paying. And I know that one day, when my voice is gone and my breath has stilled, I too will drink from the water we owe the dead.